This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Ben Turney, the CEO of Kavango Resources. Ben, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks, Mark. It's new year for Kavango, and we're really looking forward to what's coming up.
Excellent. Where are you calling from at the moment, Ben? Because I know you were planning on moving down to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, well, I've made the move, and I'm in Harare now. So
Okay.
I'm in and out of meetings with various stakeholders and potential partners for the future. So I'm up here for the first week, and then after that, I'm heading down to Bulawayo, which is my new home. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
Excellent. Okay, and of course your move there was so you could focus on that side of the business. Obviously, that's where the projects are, but also there's opportunities directly in Zimbabwe, aren't there? So I wonder if you can maybe, before we get into today's news on the KCB, what's the latest with Zimbabwe and the project there?
Well, we keep talking about the first mover advantage that we've seen here in Zimbabwe. Everything I've seen on the ground so far confirms for me that that we're right about this. We're turning up as a well-financed company. We built a great team already, and we moved to drilling, as you know, very quickly. We completed our first phase of drilling just before Christmas at the Hillside project. We're just drilling another hole there at the moment, and we're considering what our next steps are. We've got assay tests that are inbound. We've had one or two issues getting samples over the border to Johannesburg, but I think we're in the process of resolving that. We've completed some auger drilling at the Nara project, so we've drilled the dump there. We're going to test that locally in Zim, so that's going to be more straightforward, and we're hoping for news there very soon. And then we're going to move to drill Nara itself, which we are, we're just very, very excited. We love what we've seen so far. We have the Hillside option that is which we are due to exercise. Despite not having the assay results so far, we're very, very encouraged by what we've seen. And one of the great things about these projects, Mark, is that they're not just pure play exploration. These are existing producing assets, albeit on a fairly small scale. But the great thing about Zimbabwe is this enormous untested potential for bulk mining. And if the core samples that we've seen so far, if they live up to expectations, it's going to be a very, very exciting period for Kavango.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's talk about the news that came out today then. That's the completion of the Airborne geophysical survey at the KCB. And this, as I understand, Ben, in November time, you acquired some extra prospecting licenses. And was this survey was to really test to see if some of the features were extending onto the ground that you existing had and that you recently acquired. So, I mean, how did the survey go, and did it tell you what you wanted to see?
Well, we don't know yet because the results are coming out at the end of February, but you're absolutely right about the objectives with what we're looking to achieve with the survey. So we bought the ground from ENRG. These were six prospecting licenses that I've wanted to bring into the company pretty much since I joined Kavango. So we sort of kept a close eye on them over the last 3 years. When the Niger coup happened, that unfortunately meant that ENRG Elements, the company that previously owned the ground, they had to sell the assets very quickly because they needed to raise money quickly. It's obviously an incredibly difficult market out there. Now, that ground came with it essentially 7 years worth of exploration data from the work that ENRG had. And one of the things we were quite surprised about was a lot of the data that they had gathered. So the physical data, the physical samples from soil sampling and from drilling that they'd done, 5,500 meters of drilling, most of it remained untested. So our guys on the ground have been doing a lot of work with mapping and working with those samples just to deepen our understanding of what ENRG had done. But what ENRG also did was they flew their own airborne surveys, and they put some announcements out last year about the results of those surveys, which I think probably Kavango needs to republish, just to bring the market up to speed. Now, ENRG identified a stack of potential drill targets on their ground, and they also identified two extremely interesting looking structures. Now, we've done work since then. We had previously been working on the principle of one potential mineralizing structure, which extended from ENRG's ground into our Karakubis block of licenses right by the Namibian border. But what we also wanted to test was a possible second structure that extended to the east in our South Hansi block. Now, some of what we've seen so far, we're very encouraged. I mean, we've only had preliminary data, but the full data set should be processed and interpreted by the end of February. But if we are looking at what we believe are two copper mineralizing systems, we're expecting and hoping to see quite a large number of drill targets, which will then follow up with some further ground geophysics just to zone in on the most prospective and sort of highest chance of success among those. And then we'll be moving straight into drilling with the backing that we now have from Airborne, our 52% shareholder. We have the budget to be able to move this quickly. So I'm hoping for some fireworks a bit later on this year in the KCB.
Okay, excellent. So you're saying that's coming out sort of end of February then. I mean, ideally, I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it? But how many sort of targets would you like? I mean, would more better or less better? I mean, you've obviously got to go through them and then rank them, haven't you, in terms of priority to find out. You said in the RNS to identify high confidence drill targets. So I just wonder if you have any idea of what they might look like and perhaps how many you'd like.
Well, to give an idea, on the ENRG ground, I think from memory they identified 26 drill targets.
Okay.
That's obviously a lot of drilling. I think if we end up with sort of a similar number across our ground, obviously going and drilling 50 targets in one go, that's it's a huge cost commitment. But in some ways, more is better. But at the same time, what we then need to do is, as you quite rightly say, we then need to rank those. So to be able to perform that ranking, that's where we're going to need to do a bit more ground geophysics, because obviously the more independent data sets that we have and where the results from those data sets point in the same direction, that obviously increases the chance of what we hope would be a discovery. But we're looking at big target areas, and these are big targets. If we look at Sandfire's Matheo mine and formerly Kuprick Canyon Zone 5, which was just sold for $1.8 billion. Well, we're on exactly the same structural corridor. So if there is sort of a large-scale mineral deposit or even two large-scale mineral deposits in our grounds, then I think we've now got the team in place to be able to go and find those, particularly under the leadership of Dave Catterall, whose pedigree in the KCB is he's front and centre of most of the activity that there's been there, and he's had huge success, particularly with the discovery of Zone 5. So it's a very, very exciting year for us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So just in terms of thinking of what's to come down the pipe, end of February, hopefully get these geophysical surveys coming in, and then you're going to look to start the ground geophysics to start ranking those targets. So this will be happening, I guess, throughout Q1. And would you perhaps be hoping to get some drills spinning sort of in H1 or moving into H2?
Oh, it will be H1,
okay,
definitely. But I'm still pushing the team hard for drilling in Q1.
Okay.
Now, obviously, I've got to hold my horses a little bit. We've got to be led by the technical team here, but I am pushing hard that we get the results. I think a lot will depend on the ground geophysics and how much we feel we need to do. So we've just completed the Airborne survey. So let's just take a couple of days to figure out exactly what the next steps are. But I'm very, very keen that we move forward as quickly as we can. It's been a long time coming for Kavango actually to start having some success, and I'm very, very hungry for it.
Yeah, it's nice to get back in the field, isn't it? It seems a little while since Kavango were doing that. And the same with Zim, you'd like to get drilling this year, would you?
Oh, we're already drilling, Mark. So the rig is essentially our rig. So we're back underway at the start of this week. So we're going to keep that rig running pretty much indefinitely. There are so many targets to go for. The main bottleneck at the moment is being able to scale up our team in Zim. But yeah, we're actively drilling at the moment.
Excellent. And given that you are now very geographically a lot closer to the projects, maybe hopefully we can see some more media from site, perhaps do some interviews from site as well with you as things progress.
Yeah, good idea. I'm going next week when I'm back in Bulawayo. I'm going to go straight out to see the projects. I'm taking a few people down with me to go and do some site visits. And I'll certainly be sharing more on social media. And let's hopefully we can arrange, maybe from our field camp. We've got some pretty interesting stuff going on down there. So we might be able to do a video call from there if the internet holds up.
That'd be great. Well, for now, thank you very much, Ben Turney, the CEO there of Kavango Resources.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.